completely alone on that road, or at least, that's what I kept telling myself. It was one of those long, empty highways that seemed to stretch forever, the kind where you don't see another car for miles, just darkness on both sides. No houses, no streetlights, nothing but black silence. My headlights were the only thing cutting through it, a narrow tunnel of light surrounded by endless night. I had been driving for hours, the kind of drive that slowly messes with your head. The road feels the same. The lines blur. Time starts to feel strange. I remember checking my phone earlier, no signal. Not even one bar. It made the whole place feel even more isolated, like I was cut off from everything. The clock on my dashboard read 2:17 a.m. That time hit differently. There's something about being awake at that hour, alone, far from anywhere safe, that makes every small sound feel louder. Every shadow feels like it's hiding something. I tried to shake that feeling off. I told myself I was, just tired. My mind was playing tricks. The car was quiet. Too quiet. No music. Just the low hum of the engine and the soft sound of tires rolling over the road. Even that sound felt distant, like I wasn't fully there. I rolled my shoulders, trying to stay awake, trying to stay focused. My eyes stayed locked on the road ahead. But every now and then, I found myself checking the rearview mirror. It's a habit when you drive alone at night. You keep checking, even when you know there's nothing there. Just darkness filling the back seat. Just empty space. That's what it was supposed to be. Empty. I remember clearly, before I started the drive, I had opened the back door to throw my bag inside. I glanced at the seats. Nothing unusual. No movement. No shadows. Just my stuff lying there. I even locked the doors right after. I'm sure of that. Still, something about that night felt off from the very beginning. It wasn't just the darkness. It was the silence. The kind that presses against your ears. The kind that makes you feel like you're being watched, even when you know there's no one around. I tried to ignore it. I adjusted my grip on the steering wheel and leaned forward slightly, focusing on the road. The yellow lines slid past in a steady rhythm. Left, right, left, right. Hypnotic, almost calming, if you let it be. But I couldn't relax. Not fully, because every few minutes, without even thinking about it, my eyes would flick up to the mirror again. Just a quick glance, just to be sure. And every time, it was the same. Darkness, stillness, nothing. I let out a slow breath and told myself to stop being paranoid. There was no one there, no reason to feel this way. It was just a long drive, late at night, and my brain was overreacting. I even let out a quiet laugh, a nervous one. "Get it together," I muttered under my breath. My voice sounded strange in the car, too loud, like it didn't belong there. I swallowed and looked back at the road. The highway stretched, on, endless and empty. And yet, that feeling didn't go away. If anything, it grew stronger. Like something unseen was slowly creeping closer, inch by inch, without making a sound. I tightened my grip on the wheel again. I didn't know why, but I suddenly didn't want to check the mirror anymore. Something inside me resisted it, like a warning. Like if I looked again, something would be different, something I wouldn't be able to explain. So I kept my eyes forward, locked on the road, trying to ignore the growing tension in my chest, trying to ignore the strange, heavy feeling that had settled in the car, trying to convince myself, over and over again, that I was completely alone. I don't know exactly when it started, just that something felt off before I could even explain it. My eyes were fixed on the road, but my mind kept drifting. That heavy silence in the car wasn't normal anymore. It felt thicker, like the air itself had weight. I shifted in my seat, trying to get comfortable, trying to shake that strange feeling crawling under my skin. Then, without thinking, my eyes flicked up to the rearview mirror. Just a quick glance, and I saw it. Something moved. It was so small, so quick, like a shadow slipping out of place. I blinked immediately and looked back at the road, my heart skipping a beat. "No," I whispered to myself. almost automatically. You're just tired. That had to be it. Long drive. No sleep. Empty road. My brain filling in gaps that weren't there. It made sense. It was the only thing that made sense. I swallowed and forced a small breath out through my nose, trying to stay calm. My fingers tapped lightly against the steering wheel, an unconscious rhythm, like I was grounding myself. For a few seconds, I didn't look back again. I didn't want to, but the thought was already planted in my head. What did I see? It kept repeating. A shadow, a reflection, something from outside, maybe a passing light, even though there were no other cars, no buildings, nothing around for miles. Still, my brain searched for answers, anything that felt normal, anything that didn't make my chest tighten the way it was tightening now. I told myself to ignore it, focus on the road, just keep driving. So I did. I leaned forward slightly, squinting into the darkness ahead. The headlights cut through the road the same way they had for hours. Nothing had changed out there. But inside the car, something felt different. The silence was no longer empty. It felt occupied. That thought hit me so suddenly that I felt my stomach drop. Occupied? I shook my head quickly. No. Stop. I actually said it out loud this time firmer, like I was trying to shut my own thoughts down before they could spiral any further. I adjusted my grip again, realizing my hands were slightly damp now. Sweat. Why was I sweating? The AC was on. The temperature hadn't changed. And yet, I could feel a faint warmth building at the back of my neck, like someone breathing too close. I stiffened. Instantly. My eyes shot up to the mirror again before I could stop myself. Nothing. Just darkness. The back seat looked exactly the same. Empty. Still. Quiet. I stared at it for a second longer this time. Waiting. Watching. But nothing moved. No shadows. No shapes. No sign of anything being there. I let out a slow breath, but it didn't bring the relief I expected. Because now, I wasn't sure what I had seen earlier. And that uncertainty was worse. If it was nothing, I could forget it. But if it wasn't, I swallowed again, my throat dry now. Just keep driving, I muttered under my breath. My voice felt shaky this time. I forced my eyes back to the road and tried to lock my focus there. The lines, the distance, the steady motion. Something real, something predictable, but my awareness had shifted. Every small movement inside the car now felt amplified. The slight creak of the seat when I adjusted my posture, the faint vibration of the engine. Even my own breathing sounded louder than before. And beneath all of that, there was something else. Not a sound. Not exactly. More like a feeling. A presence. So faint I couldn't prove it, but strong enough that I couldn't ignore it either. It felt like I wasn't alone anymore. And that thought, once it settled in, refused to leave. I clenched my jaw and tried to fight it. Tried to bring logic back. You checked the car. You locked the doors. No one got in. There's nothing there. I repeated it in my head like a mantra, over and over. But my body didn't believe it, because without realizing it, I had stopped breathing normally. My breaths were shorter now, controlled, careful, like I was trying not to make too much noise, like I didn't want something to notice me, and then I realized something worse. I wasn't checking the mirror out of habit anymore. I was checking it because I was afraid of what might appear if I didn't. I tried to keep my eyes on the road, but it was getting harder. That feeling wouldn't leave. It wasn't just in my head anymore. It felt physical, real, like something had shifted inside the car, and I was the only one pretending it hadn't. My hands tightened around the steering wheel again, my knuckles starting to turn pale. I became aware of every tiny movement around me, every vibration, every sound. Even the silence felt louder now. I told myself not to look, just drive, just focus. But then, something moved again. This time I didn't just think I saw it, I knew I did. My eyes snapped to the rearview mirror instantly. There it was, a faint shift, low in the back seat. like fabric being pressed down, like someone adjusting their weight slowly. My heart slammed hard against my chest. I froze. For a second, everything inside me stopped working. My breathing, my thoughts, even my grip on the wheel felt distant. "No," I whispered, barely able to get the word out. The back seat looked empty. It looked exactly the same. But I knew what I had seen. Something had moved, and there was no way to explain it now. I swallowed, but my throat felt tight, almost like it didn't want to work anymore. My tongue felt dry, heavy. I forced myself to keep looking at the mirror. I didn't want to. Every instinct told me to look away, to pretend none of this was happening. But I couldn't. Not anymore. Because if I looked away, it might move again, and I wouldn't see it. And somehow, that felt worse. So I stared, my eyes locked on that dark, empty space behind me. Waiting, watching. My breathing became shallow, careful, like I was afraid even that might disturb something. Seconds passed, or maybe minutes. I couldn't tell anymore. Time felt wrong now. Everything felt wrong. And then, it happened again. A slow, almost unnoticeable shift, this time closer to the middle of the seat, like pressure forming and releasing. My chest tightened instantly. "That's not possible," I said, but my voice came out weaker than I expected. Because it was possible. It was happening. Right there, behind me. I could feel it now, not just see it. There was a presence, something occupying that space, something that didn't belong there. My fingers started trembling slightly against the wheel. I tried to stop it, but I couldn't. My body was reacting on its own now. I glanced quickly at the road ahead, just to make sure I wasn't drifting. The car stayed straight, but my focus snapped right back to the mirror. I couldn't stop checking. I couldn't ignore it anymore. Because now, it didn't feel like empty space. It felt like someone sitting there, still, silent, watching me. That thought hit so hard it made my stomach twist. Watching me. I became aware of my reflection in the mirror. My own eyes staring back, wide, tense, filled with something I couldn't hide anymore, fear. But behind that, there was only darkness. No face, no clear shape, just shadows. And yet, those shadows didn't feel empty anymore. They felt layered, like something was blending into them, hiding inside them. I leaned forward slightly, squinting, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. My heartbeat was so loud now, it almost drowned everything else out. I focused harder, trying to catch even the smallest detail. Anything that would prove this wasn't real. Anything that would bring logic back. But the more I stared, the more it felt like something was slowly becoming clearer. Not fully visible. Not yet. But forming. Like it was taking its time. Like it knew I was watching and didn't mind. My breath hitched, slightly. And without even realizing it, I whispered, "Who's there?" The words left my mouth before I could stop them. And the second I said it, the air inside the car changed. It felt heavier, colder, like something had just acknowledged me. My grip tightened even more. I didn't move. I didn't blink. Because deep down, I had the terrifying feeling that whatever was sitting in my back seat was no longer trying to stay hidden. I don't know how long I stayed like that, staring into the mirror, barely breathing, waiting for something I couldn't even understand. The road was still there in front of me, stretching endlessly into the dark, but it didn't feel important anymore. My entire focus was locked on what was behind me, or what might be behind me. My chest felt tight. Every breath was shallow, controlled, like I was afraid to make too much noise. My ears strained, picking up every tiny sound inside the car. At first, there was nothing, just the engine, the tires, my own heartbeat, loud, uneven, then something else, so faint, I almost missed it. A sound, soft, barely there. I froze instantly. It didn't come from outside. It didn't come from the engine. It came from inside the car, from behind me. I swallowed, my throat dry, and tried to listen again. My grip on the steering wheel tightened slowly, my fingers pressing into the leather as if that would somehow ground me. There it was again, a whisper, so low, so quiet. It felt like it wasn't meant to be heard. At first, I thought it was just air. Maybe the AC shifting, maybe something loose in the car making a strange noise. That had to be it. It had to be something normal. But then it came again. Clearer this time. Longer. And it didn't sound like air. It sounded like a voice. My entire body went still. A cold wave moved through me, starting at the back of my neck, and slowly spreading down my spine. Every muscle tightened without me even telling it to. No, I whispered, but my voice didn't carry any confidence anymore, because I knew what I heard. Even if I didn't want to accept it, I kept my eyes locked on the mirror, afraid to look away, afraid that if I did, whatever was behind me would get closer without me noticing. The back seat still looked empty, dark, still, but that didn't mean anything anymore, because now I could hear it. That whisper again, closer, softer, like it was trying to speak directly into my ear without fully revealing itself. I leaned forward slightly, my heart pounding harder, with every second, trying to catch even a single word. But it wasn't clear. It was broken, like pieces of a sentence slipping through. A breath, a sound, then silence. That again. My mind started racing, trying to make sense of it, trying to turn it into something logical, something explainable. But there was nothing logical about it, nothing at all. Because the voice, whatever it was, didn't sound like it was coming from a distance. It sounded close, too close, right behind me. My hands began to tremble slightly on the wheel. I tried to steady them, but it was useless now. My body had already crossed that line between control and instinct. I didn't want to turn around. Every part of me screamed not to, because deep down I knew if I turned, I might actually see something, and once I saw it, there would be no going back. The whisper came again, this time longer, and I swear, it almost sounded like it was forming words. I held my breath completely now, my chest barely moving, straining to hear it. For a second, everything else disappeared. The road, the car, even my own fear. All of it faded behind that sound. Then I felt it. A faint sensation, right next to my ear, not touching, but close enough that I could feel the presence of something there. The air shifted, warmer, breathing. My eyes widened instantly, my entire body locking up. And then, the whisper came again, clear, cold, right beside me. So close. It felt like lips were inches away. I couldn't move. I couldn't think. All I could do was listen. And whatever it wasn't just making noise anymore. It was trying to speak. I don't remember deciding to look. It just happened. Like something inside me snapped under the pressure. The fear, the silence, the whisper right next to my ear, it all built up until I couldn't take it anymore. My eyes moved to the mirror again. Slowly this time. Carefully. Like I already knew something would be there. And I was trying to prepare myself for it. For a split second, nothing changed. Just darkness. The same empty back seat. The same shadows blending into each other. And then she was there, sitting directly behind me. My breath stopped, not slowed, not shaken. Stopped, completely. My chest froze like it forgot how to move. She hadn't been there a second ago. I'm sure of it. But now, she was perfectly still, perfectly silent. A woman. Her figure was clear enough to see, but something about her didn't feel right. Like she didn't belong in that space. Like she wasn't part of the real world around me. Her skin looked pale, unnaturally pale, almost blending into the darkness instead of standing out from it. And her eyes, they were already on me, locked onto mine through the mirror. Unblinking, focused, watching. I couldn't look away. I didn't even try. Because something about the way she was staring at me made it feel impossible. Like I was being held in place, frozen under that gaze. My fingers tightened painfully around the steering wheel. I could feel the pressure in my hands, but it felt distant, like my body wasn't fully mine anymore. Everything slowed down. The road ahead blurred slightly, but I didn't care. Nothing mattered except what I was seeing. Except her. She didn't move. Not even slightly. No shifting. No breathing. Nothing. Just that stare. Deep. Empty. But somehow, aware. It felt like she wasn't just looking at me. It felt like she could see through me. Like she was reading something inside me that I couldn't hide. My throat felt tight again, like it was closing up. I tried to swallow, but it barely worked. This wasn't real. It couldn't be. I forced myself to think. Maybe it was a reflection. Maybe it was a reflection. Maybe something from outside the car was lining up perfectly in the mirror, creating an illusion. That had to be it. It had to be something explainable. But the more I looked, the less that made sense. Because she wasn't fading. She wasn't shifting. She was staying exactly where she was. Solid, present, real. And then I noticed something worse. Her head was slightly tilted. Just enough to feel unnatural. Like she had been watching me for a while and was slowly trying to understand me. My heartbeat slammed harder against my chest. I could hear it in my ears now. Loud. Fast. Almost drowning everything else out. Still, she didn't blink. Not once. Her eyes stayed fixed on mine, unbroken. Like if I looked away, something would happen. Something worse. I wanted to turn around. I needed to. If she was really there, then turning around would prove it. It would make it real. Or maybe it would make it disappear. But I couldn't do it, because the fear wasn't just about seeing her. It was about what might happen if I stopped watching the mirror. What if she moved the second I turned? What if she got closer? That thought hit so hard I felt my chest tighten even more. So I stayed exactly where I was. Eyes locked, breathing shallow, frozen in place. And then, something changed. It was small. So, small. Most people wouldn't even notice it. But I did. Because I was staring right at her. Her lips. They moved. Just slightly. At first, I thought it was another illusion. A trick of the light. But then it happened again. Slow. Controlled. Deliberate. And then she smiled. A slow, unnatural smile. Not warm. Not human. It stretched just a little too far. Just enough to feel wrong. My stomach dropped instantly. That smile didn't feel like an expression. It felt like a message. Like she knew. Something I didn't. Like she had been waiting for this exact moment. And as I stared at her, unable to move, unable to think, I realized something that made the fear even worse. She wasn't surprised to see me. Not at all. It felt like she had been expecting me. I don't know what scared me more, seeing her in the mirror, or what happened when I finally tried to turn around, because I couldn't just sit there anymore. That smile, the way she was looking at me, it pushed something inside me past its limit. I needed to know if she was really there. I needed something real, something solid, something I could understand. So I forced myself to move, slowly, carefully. Like any sudden motion might trigger something. My hand stayed locked on the steering wheel, but my head began to turn. It felt heavy, unnaturally heavy. Like something was resisting me. Like I wasn't supposed to do this. My eyes stayed on the mirror for as long as they could, watching her face, watching that smile, trying to memorize it because some part of me believed that the second I looked away, everything would change. And then I broke eye contact. I turned, just enough to see the back seat directly. And nothing. It was empty. Completely empty. No woman. No movement. No sign that anyone had ever been there. My breath came back all at once, sharp and uneven. I stared at the seat, my eyes scanning every corner, every shadow, searching for anything that could explain what I had just seen. But there was nothing. Just my bag lying exactly where I had left it. Still. Undisturbed. I blinked rapidly, my mind struggling to catch up. "That's not possible," I whispered, my voice shaking now. I had just seen her. I was sure of it. Clear as anything. So where did she go? My chest rose and fell faster, panic starting to creep in. I leaned back slightly, my body tense, my thoughts racing, trying to piece everything together. Maybe it was all in my head. Maybe I was more tired than I thought. Maybe the whisper came again, right behind me, closer than before. So close it felt like it brushed against my ear. I froze instantly, every muscle in my body locked. I didn't turn back this time. I couldn't, because now I knew. Looking wouldn't help. Looking didn't make it go away. Slowly, almost against my will, my eyes lifted back to the mirror, and the second I saw it, my stomach dropped. She was back. Sitting in the exact same position, same tilt of the head, same unblinking eyes, same smile, like she had never left. Like those few seconds of emptiness meant nothing to her. My hands started trembling again, worse this time. The steering wheel shook slightly under my grip, and I had to fight to keep the car steady. "This isn't real," I said, but the words felt empty now, because I could see her, and now I could hear her. That whisper wasn't broken anymore. It wasn't distant. It was forming, clearer, closer, and it felt like it was wrapping around my thoughts instead of just reaching my ears. My breathing became uneven again, my chest tightening with every second. I didn't want to listen, but I couldn't block it out. The voice slid in softly, cold and calm, like it had all the time in the world. And then it spoke, not random sounds, not broken pieces. Words, actual words. Low, barely above a breath, but clear enough that I couldn't mistake them. I felt my fingers dig into the wheel as hard as they could, my entire body bracing without knowing why. Because whatever she was about to say, it felt important, personal, dangerous, the kind of thing that shouldn't be known. And then, right beside my ear again, she said it. Soft, slow, like she was savoring every word. And the second I understood it, something inside me dropped completely. Because she didn't say something random. She didn't ask a question. She didn't warn me. She said something only I would recognize. Something no one else could possibly know. My past. A moment I had never told anyone. A detail so specific, so buried, that even I hadn't thought about it in years. And yet, she knew. She knew exactly what to say. Exactly what to bring back. My eyes widened, my breath catching again, as the realization hit harder than anything else so far. This wasn't just something in my car. This wasn't just a presence. She knew me, deeply, personally, like she had been there, long before tonight. And as I stared at her reflection, unable to move, unable to think straight, I realized the most terrifying part of all, she wasn't just sitting behind me anymore. It felt like she had always been there. I couldn't move after hearing those words. Everything inside me just locked. My body was still in the driver's seat, my hands on the wheel, the car moving forward on that endless road, but I wasn't really in control anymore. It felt like my mind had been pulled somewhere else the second she spoke, because what she said, it wasn't random. It wasn't some vague whisper or broken sound anymore. It was clear, too clear, and it hit me in a place I didn't even know was still sensitive. My breath felt stuck halfway in my chest, like I forgot how to finish inhaling. I stared at the rearview mirror again, almost afraid of what I would see this time. She was still there, same position, same calm, unnatural stillness. But now her eyes felt different, not just watching, not just observing. They felt like they were inside me, like she wasn't looking at my face anymore. She was looking at something deeper, something buried. I swallowed hard, but my throat felt completely dry. My mouth wouldn't work properly. My thoughts kept breaking apart, trying to make sense of what was happening, but nothing connected anymore. That thing she said, it wasn't just a sentence, it was a memory. My memory, something I had never spoken about, never typed, never even allowed myself to think about for too long. A moment I buried so deep I convinced myself it didn't matter anymore. And yet she brought it back, like it was nothing, like she had been standing right there when it happened. My grip on the steering wheel loosened slightly without me noticing. My hands felt weak now, disconnected, like they belonged to someone else. "No," I whispered again, but it didn't sound strong this time. It sounded like doubt, because I didn't know what I was denying anymore. Her presence, her voice, or the fact that she knew something impossible. I forced myself to look away from the mirror for a second just to breathe, just to reset my mind, but even that didn't help. The silence in the car had changed completely now. It wasn't empty anymore. It felt occupied, heavy, like something was sitting in every corner of the space with me, even when I wasn't looking. And then I heard it again, not loud, not sudden, just there, her whisper, right behind me. Not forming words this time, just breathing sounds mixed with faint fragments of speech, like she was still speaking even when I wasn't listening properly. My body went stiff again. I didn't want to look, but I did. My eyes slowly lifted to the mirror, and the moment I saw her again, I noticed something that made my stomach twist harder than before. Her smile was gone, completely gone. Now her face looked neutral, empty, but somehow that was worse. Because without the smile, her expression felt unreadable, like she wasn't trying to show anything anymore, like she didn't need to. Her eyes were still locked on mine, but now they felt sharper, more focused, less like observation, more like confirmation, like she had already gotten what she wanted, and I had no idea what that was. My breathing got uneven again. I could feel my heart beating in my throat now. Every second felt louder than the last. I tried to speak, but nothing came out properly. Just a broken sound. Something between a question and panic. "What do you want?" My voice barely survived the question. And the second I said it, the whisper stopped. Everything stopped. Even the faint noise in the car disappeared for a moment, like the world itself paused to listen. Then she leaned slightly forward. Not fast, not sudden, just enough to change everything. Her face got closer to the mirror's reflection, closer to me, and in that moment I felt something inside me shift again. Not fear this time. Something deeper, something worse. Recognition. Like she wasn't just responding to me. Like she had been waiting for me to ask that exact question. And then her lips moved again. Slow. Deliberate. And this time, what she said wasn't about my past. It was about my present. About where I was. About the fact that I was still driving. Still on that road. Still alone. Except, according to her voice, I wasn't as alone as I thought. And as I stared at her in the mirror, the road ahead suddenly felt less important than whatever had been sitting in my back seat. Even when I wasn't looking at it,